And welcome to the Main Event Sports Show, coming to you live from the palatious Old Louisville Pizza Pub on 1st and Oak Street here in downtown Louisville, in the heart of Old Louisville. I'm telling you, man, they just remodeled, drink specials, pizza specials. We got all sorts of people coming in. When you watch the Main Event Sports Show coming to you live from Old Louisville Pizza Pub, you never know who may be coming in here. You never know what you may see out these windows, who we may talk to. Case in point, last week we did our show. Talking about...
You're not going to go there, are you?
I am. Talking about Louisville sports, and a lady came through with her Louisville jersey on, bright red Louisville jersey, was excited, gave us the L's up, gave us a thumbs up. It's like, yeah, you guys talk about U of L. Yeah. She got so excited. She flashed. It's like, she got right to the corner, like, off camera. And it was like, U of L, yay! Just saying. You never know
that happened.
That really happened, you know. But, hey, you know what? It's good that we can excite the 50-noter crowd. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. MILFs, it's okay with us.
Shut up.
Just saying.
So... On to the
topic du jour.
Yes.
Let's talk about your favorite sport.
Yes, sir.
College basketball.
Round ball.
That's right. And as we talk about round ball, apparently the University of Kentucky went down to Bahamas and played in a tournament. So we actually got to see kind of a preview of what the Cats are going to look like this season.
That's right.
And I must say, they look pretty good. Actually, they look very good.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Haven. Just in general, you have to always – it's good when you have a team that you expect that can be, a next-level type of team. If you have a team that you want to aspire to make a Final Four, when you're able to go on one of these foreign trips, it's really helpful to kind of build that early camaraderie and see your team against – outside competition, so you can kind of get a leg up on finding out what your deficiencies are, what rotations work. It just kind of gives you a early peek into the season, so then you have almost 2 full months to correct things before you even start playing ball. And it's coincidentally, Kentucky and Duke will be playing in the Champions Classic this year, and both Kentucky as well as Duke are playing in these preseason events. Duke is actually on their way up to Canada right now. So they're about to get their foreign trip up and rolling. R.J. Barrett, of course, the #1 player in the class of 2018, plays for those Duke Blue Devils, and he's heading back home. If anybody's not seen R.J. Barrett play,
he's a beast.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. He's a 6'8" shooting guard.
He's a beast.
That's T-Mac level right there.
It's going to be interesting to watch this college basketball season, because unlike last year where I think college basketball was down, this year they're loaded again.
Well, I tell you what, and it's going to be very interesting. Just as far as the way too early, to know what's going to happen type of situation. You have 2 teams there. You have the University of Kentucky, who's got several returning guys. Okay, you have Quade Green back. You have P.J. Washington that pulled his name out of the NBA draft. He's back. And then you bring in some really good players. E.J. Montgomery, very nice kind of combo forward. He can play the 4 and the 3. He looked very good. You have several other guys, Tyler Harrow, who's coming out, a big-time scorer. He's coming in. He was doing some nice things. But you have a Kentucky team that, while they don't have an overriding amount of talent, you have Reed Travis, the transfer from Stanford as well. Nick Richards returning as a sophomore. You have a very interesting mix of returning players and a big class of talented freshmen. Now, they're not the elite freshmen. The elite freshmen actually are residing in Durham at Duke. Zion Williamson, everybody knows him from everything on YouTube, everything on Twitter,
he's a beast.
Instagram, absolute monster. 6'7", 285 pounds at 6'7". Like,
and sounds like an offensive lineman.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is, Coach K seems to think he said that he's graceful. He said that at 6'7", 285, he's light on his feet. I have to see this because that seems to me to be a bit heavy for a 6'7" guy.
It seems impossible to be light on your feet when we're in size 15 shoes. I mean, it just doesn't seem right. But you know what? The great thing about these trips is, like you said, one, for the fans, you get to see your team early. You get to see that early preview and kind of look into the future. But for the coaching staff, you get to see your team play against real competition, a competition that wants to win, talented competition, and you can kind of see how your players play underneath real adversity.
Absolutely.
Before the season starts, like you said earlier.
And
now you can make changes. Yeah. You can kind of see, like, okay, this guy needs to work on this. I saw this. I wasn't too pleased with that. I need to fix, what we're doing over here.
Now, me personally, I think when you look at the two teams, I do believe that this is much more helpful for Duke than it is for Kentucky, just for the fact when you bringing in Trey Jones, Cam Reddish, R.J. Barrett, Zion Williamson, those 4 superlative freshmen, the #1 recruiting class in the country, those guys need that experience because you got a lot of freshmen. You don't have a lot of returning players. So it's going to be a work in progress. They do have Marquise Bolden back as a third-year junior, the former #1 center in the class. Obviously, he was a bit overrated because usually #1 center was not going to make it through his third year.
Because he's still in school.
Outside of Marquise Bolden, they don't have a lot returning. So I think having these freshmen get as much experience as they can, that's going to be very important. But for Kentucky, just the fact that you're going to be able to figure out the rotations, I think that's going to be the biggest thing because you do have so many guys that you're trying to figure out who works well together, who can I trust in, who seems to have that type of early chemistry. That's going to be the question marks that Kentucky has to answer. And I tell you what, they came out there, they played against a Bahamian team in the first game. Now, if anybody remembers when Louisville took their foreign trip back in 2012, and we remember like the Bahamian teams that Louisville took on when Russ Smith was averaging like 35 points a game.
Yeah, okay, you know what?
I mean,
let's just scoop past Bahamian teams. That's like a pickup basketball team.
Well, I mean, this is the thing, is that when you look at, they played a team called Mega Baymax, and I thought Baymax was the dude from Big Hero 6. So I thought it was going to be like a big, giant, puffy dude out there on the court. I don't know who any of these teams are. They played like a team Toronto. They played this Bahamian team, and then they played, some other team. The Real Deal Splitters or something. I don't know. This is the thing. Kentucky looked good. They looked really good. A lot of guys played very well. Quade Green played very well against Team Toronto on Sunday. Tyler Harrow had a 22-point game the second game of the set. Nick Richards was very dominant in the first game, put up 19, and 12 rebounds. I like what they have. They have a lot of pieces. Reed Travis, the transfer from Stanford, is an interesting player. The thing is, E.J. Montgomery is the only guy right now that I think has NBA scouts buzzing. Okay, a guy who could be a draft pick at some point. He looks like he can be a top 20 pick maybe come this spring. But the issue is this. Kentucky does not have any guys that are elite. They don't have a John Wall. They don't have a DeMarcus Cousins. They don't have an Anthony Davis or a Karl Anthony Towns. And that's going to be the question mark, is what will win out? Will the super, super elite talent of a Zion Williamson, a Cam Reddish, and an R.J. Barrett win out versus Kentucky and a bunch of really good veteran guys?
Well, no,
and I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic to watch all year because I do think it's going to be a lot about Kentucky and Duke moving forward this year.
I will say this. If college basketball has taught us one thing, a lot of times experience trumps this raw talent.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in college basketball.
I mean, yeah, the last several years. I mean, Villanova wins the championship this past year.
Not the most talented
North
team.
Carolina won it the year before that, and Villanova won it before that, previously.
Experienced teams have been there before, and Kentucky returns for the first time in a long time, they return experience. And I think that is going to prove to be the shining light for Kentucky basketball. I think their experience, I think the fact that they actually got to play in this tournament is going to help a lot, kind of getting the younger guys up to speed, kind of help them know, one, this is how Calipari coaches in games, kind of get used to how the way he coaches in games, not just in practice.
Yes.
And I think this could be huge for Kentucky.
Kentucky's going to need it.
They may not have the elite talent, but they can all play together.
They can all play.
Play at a high level.
Yes.
I think that can overcome elite talent.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, that's going to be the biggest thing, because even when you talk about experienced teams, with North Carolina, you did still have Justin Jackson. You still did have, several elite all-conference type of players on that team. Villanova had Dante DiVincenzo. They had the National Player of the Year in Jalen Brunson. They had that big guy down low that could step out and shoot the threes. He got drafted the last pick of the first round. I mean, there was still – 3 or 4 draft picks on each of those teams. But for Kentucky, outside of E.J. Montgomery, I don't know if Kentucky has another draft pick.
I'm going to say this.
Maybe it's P.J. Washington.
I'm going to say this. When those guys first got to Villanova, they really weren't on the NBA radar.
No, you're absolutely right.
Got to Villanova,
you're absolutely right.
But they worked their way up. And I think these guys could do the same. They may not be the elite of the elite players, but you have a good run.
Yeah.
And you play well, things can happen. And especially if you're a guard playing for Calipari, the sky's the limit. Because Calipari is the guard whisperer.
Yeah.
He can get more out of his point guards than almost any coach in college basketball.
Now, I do want to give Coach Calipari some credit, okay? And this is something, like I said, I'm not the biggest Kentucky fan. In fact, I'm not a Kentucky fan at all. I can't stand UK. I hate blue. I don't like nothing blue in my house. I do drive a blue car, but I wanted to throw red painted on it several times. But I was told that I couldn't do that. So I don't like UK. Okay, but I do give credit where credit's due. Coach Calipari, for all the things, he's known as this one-and-done guy, and people always talk about the John Walls and the DeMarcus Cousins and the Anthony Davises and the Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and all those guys. But the one thing that Coach Calipari has never gotten enough credit for is he finds diamonds in the rough.
Yes, he does.
And this is the thing that people have never really paid a lot of attention to. But when you look at guys like Eric Bledsoe, guys like Devin Booker, Willie Cauley-Stein.
There you go.
Tyler Ulis.
One of my favorite Kentucky players of all time.
Dominique Hawkins, even. He finds a way to find guys who a lot of people either ignore or they're a little bit further down the recruiting rankings. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just last year, a guy who was rated in the 40s in terms of recruiting ranking, he comes in as the best player and is a top 10 pick in the draft. And I really and truly believe the guy this year that looks kind of like he might be that guy is Tyler Hero.
He looked excellent.
Tyler Hero.
He looked excellent.
Looks like he said that Devin Booker was like his favorite player and that he tries to pattern his game. He looks like he's got a little bit of Devin Booker, Dante DiVincenzo in him. Like that's just kind of that unflappable, I'm going to pull up, from 30 feet out. I'm going to knock down shots scorer. Like he's still got to work on his defensive game, and I don't know how good of a defender he's going to be as a rookie, but he looks like he's going to be the next in that line of guys that you didn't think were going to necessarily be in that rotation. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we remember him from the Derby Classic. I got the opportunity to interview him, and he was seen as that was kind of his coming out party because you had a lot of higher rated guys playing in the Derby Classic. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won that game for his team.
He showed out.
And was the MVP.
He showed out.
And I don't know how Cal does it. And like I said, he always gets credit for the guys that he brings in that are like the elite guys. But he's done an excellent job of evaluating those other guys.
And that's something that I think Calipari doesn't get enough credit for. That he also doesn't get enough credit for player development. A lot of people think that he just rolls the ball out there and they play.
Yeah.
There's a lot of player development that happens. Calipari does a tremendous job at player development.
I'll say that Josh Harrelson was a perfect example of that.
A guy that had 2 left feet.
Absolutely.
Was kind of like, well, why is he really here? But when you watched him play, you watched him in the tournament, his hustle, his heart, he became a completely different player underneath Calipari's tutelage. Teague is another guy. the beginning of the year, Teague was like
Marquise Teague.
Why is this guy so highly rated? He seems kind of garbage.
Hey, but by the end of the year,
as the season went on, he was killing folks.
Even though I don't like bringing, don't keep bringing up guys that he stole from Louisville, though. I'm trying to keep this as a positive UK segment.
It is positive for Marcus Teague.
Don't keep on.
I'm gonna say this. I will say that now. I will say this. I'm a Calipari fan. I admit.
Yes, we know.
I admit that. But I will say this: if Marcus Teague goes to U of L, he does not get drafted.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Louisville made the Final Four that year, and if Marquise Teague is playing for Louisville instead of Kentucky, maybe Louisville wins that game in 2012 in the Final Four.
He won't get drafted?
I mean, I don't know.
Who's the last Louisville point guard to get drafted? I'll wait.
Russ Smith. And Peyton Siva both got drafted in the second round.
In the second round.
Yeah. You didn't?
Teague won the first round.
The last Louisville point guard to get drafted in the first round, that would be
Crum era?
No, it was number 12. Reese Gaines. Reese Gaines was the point guard.
Okay, you know what?
So there you go.
Recruit. No, Denny Crum
he was a Crum recruit.
He was a Crum recruit and played most of his years on Denny Crum, so that doesn't count.
He did.
That doesn't count. Doesn't count.
But, Reese got drafted.
I mean, Rick Pitino's a great coach, but Rick Pitino he's not good with guards.
Hey, let me tell you something, Haven. Rick Pitino's gone. It's the Chris Mack era, okay?
Chris Mack is good with
Coach
guards.
Mack, the Mack is back.
But you know what? We're not talking about U of L. We're talking about UK.
Exactly. So let's stay on point.
So let's stay on point with UK. But I will say this. Calipari is the guard whisperer.
So let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
In terms of what you saw at Paradise Island in the Bahamas, I hear a lot of Kentucky fans on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook saying this is the #1 team in the country. I've heard some talk of 40-0. I've heard a lot of things. Do you think that this Kentucky team is the favorite right now from what you saw down there at Paradise Island?
I have to see Duke first because I love Calipari. Calipari is one of the greatest coaches in college basketball. Coach K is the greatest coach in college basketball right now.
Dookie V.
He's the second. To me, Coach K is the second greatest coach in college basketball history. And with that type of talent, even though it's raw talent, unexperienced talent, but it's still a lot of talent. And it does return some experience. You can never rule out Duke with Coach K. Because number one, when they get to the tournament, they're going to get the calls. So there's always that. He will get the calls. So
he might get a few.
That's when at least get him
he might get a few.
He's going to get Duke one game. So right now, Duke to me is kind of still a team to beat, but Kentucky's definitely top 5. Kentucky's easily a top 5 team.
I would agree with that. I think that Kentucky, they impressed me with how efficient they were offensively out there. I think that they're going to have some deficiencies defensively, and I think they will need guys like Nick Richards and E.J. Montgomery to kind of step up and be those defensive stoppers.
But the great thing is they
don't have a Hamidou Diallo on this team that has that athletic type of background that's going to be a lockdown defender. So they're going to have to get better defensively. Only reason I say that is because I don't know if offensively they're going to have some nights where they struggle offensively, because they just don't have enough top-end talent. And the thing about that top-end talent is sometimes you can fight through a game where you're struggling because you're just able to just out-talent the other team. And I don't know how many times Kentucky's going to be able to do that. I think the SEC is going to be better. You have Tom Crean down at Georgia now. You have some Tennessee's preseason top 10. Mississippi State looks like they're going to be pretty good this year. Florida's going to be good again this year. So Kentucky's going to be playing against a pretty good slate in the SEC. So they're going to have to find a way to find that defensive identity. Offensively, they look great, but you got to understand the talent that they're going against. I think that you have to consider that. But from an offensive standpoint, they looked about as good as advertised.
It's still early.
Yes.
And I think that you're going to see this team, when the season starts, be a much better defensive team. Because Cal watched the tapes. He's going to rewatch the tapes. He's going to see some deficiencies, some of the defensive deficiencies and they're going to work on them, and they will improve them. And you're going to see this team get better on the defensive end as the season goes along. Because that's another Calipari trademark. His teams get better.
Yes.
And they've always gotten better as the season's gone along. We've seen some Duke teams like last year where they actually just stayed the same.
Yeah.
They didn't get any better. They were the team you saw at the beginning of the season was the same team that got bounced in the tournament at the end of the season.
That's true.
You watched the UK, they got better and better and better.
And lost to Kansas State.
And it lost the team that should have beat. Yes, the Final Four was ready for them, but
they had the everything opened up and parted like the Red Sea, and they lost to Kansas State. So they got to make up for that. I think that the one guy that I'm going to say I have an issue with is that Reed Travis. You got a lot of hype. When you pulled your name out of the draft and made it known that I'm going to Kentucky, and the Kentucky fans and the Kentucky media all made such a big deal about Reed Travis coming there. You've got to be better than what you were, because he was just one of the guys. Like, he was not bad. He was okay. He was one of the better players, but
he didn't shine like he
exactly. Like I'm gonna need for him to be closer to 17 and 10. Like I don't. If he's 10 points, 6 boards,
but
I'm not okay with that. I need him to be better.
But to me, that's what the tournament was great for. Because now Calipari can go back to him as like, this is all the hype he came out with, but look how you got to
step it up, brother. You got to step it up.
Look how the other Wildcats perform.
Right.
With less hype, and look how you perform. You need to get this in order.
And that's the thing that's lovely about that whole setup, about being able to do this early.
So now he can say, yes, my brethren did much better than me. I need to take my game to the next level, because now I understand.
Agreed.
I understand. That's what's so great about this. And you're with one of the best coaches in college basketball. I know UofL fans don't like to give Calipari credit for being a good coach. They say there's rows of ball out there. I'm here to tell you, Calipari is one of the best coaches in college basketball. You do not take Massachusetts, UMass to the Final Four.
Marcus Camby and a bunch of bums.
You don't take that. You don't say, well, they had Marcus Camby. I don't care.
Yeah.
One player's not making
the team. It was Marcus Camby and a bunch of bums, because I've seen a team with Kevin Durant get bounced.
Yes.
In the second round. I've seen a team with Michael Beasley, the best team the best player in the country, get bounced early. I've seen a lot of teams with one really good player get bounced early. I saw Louisville beat the brakes off Blake Griffin in Oklahoma.
But Cal got UMass and Marcus Camby to the Final Four. He can coach.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
He can coach. So I have faith that this Kentucky team is going to be dangerous. The good thing is the SEC is much, much better, which means they're going to get tested.
Yeah.
And those tests, the SEC, and a great non-conference schedule, that's what's going to make this team so much better come March.
We're going to see. I mean, I think that's what it's going to be about. I'm very excited about the college basketball season. There's a lot like last year. There's not a lot of household names back. So you have this new crop of superstars coming in. Marvin Bagley is gone. Michael Porter Jr. is gone. So many stars.
Time out. Stop. No, you can't count Michael Porter Jr. as being a superstar. The dude played one game.
Michael Porter Jr.
No, he played one game and wasn't all that good. Now one game he played in.
But all of my point.
He played one game and wasn't good.
Luka Doncic never came to college basketball. So, you got all these guys have gone, moved on to the next level.
No, I will say this about this year's coming up college basketball season. You actually have superstars in college. You have a great freshman class. Last year's freshman class was
pretty good.
It was okay.
That's pretty good.
It was okay, but not like this year's freshman class.
I mean, we'll see. I don't know. I don't. You know what? Truthfully, that's going to be one of the things I want to see, because R.J. Barrett at the very, very top. I mean, Duke literally has the top 3 rated players if you look at basically every composite ranking, it's R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, Zion Williamson is the 3 best players in the class. So you could arguably say that Duke's going to have the top 3 picks in the NBA draft. I don't even know if that's ever happened before. But I have to see. Like, I know R.J. Barrett's really good. Like, he's difference-making good. Like, he's has the ability to be like a Kobe Bryant type of player. I got to see the mean streak. I got to see that nastiness, that aggressiveness, because people thought the same thing about Wiggins. And
it didn't pan out.
Yeah, I mean, Wiggins has been good, but he hasn't been great. And that's what I have to see from him. But I'll have to see, like, Zion Williamson's good for a bunch of highlights. Can he play basketball?
Well, he's
we're going to see, because
he's a great coach.
All I know is that Marvin Bagley III was averaging like 25 and 12. So I'm going to need to see if somebody's out there putting up 25 and 12.
I will say this. I think this could be much
DeAndre
better.
Ayton was putting in like 24 and 15.
I'm gonna say this year I think will be much better for college basketball than last year.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
The high school talent I think is much better than it was last year coming in. So we'll have some names. I think it'll be much better. I think UK is actually poised to make another run.
I don't know if I'm going to agree with that, because I thought last year's freshman class was exceptional. So we will have to see. I think this is going to be a year where I need to see. Like, I think that the guys at the very top are really good, but but you did have a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander kind of come from out of nowhere and became one of the better players. I think that it was very top-heavy last year. Like, the guys that were at the very, very top were elite, but then you had like a big drop-off. So I agree with you. There may be a bit more depth in this class, but we're going to have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see.
It's all about depth. But, hey, thanks for tuning in to the Main Event Sports Show. Tell us what you think. How's UK going to do? How did you think that your Wildcats did in the Bahamas? Let us know in the comments below. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel, because we got more UK talk, because we're going to still break down UK football. We got a lot of UK basketball talk.
They have Benny Snell. He ain't left. There we go. UK football talk.
Hey, Benny Snell's a bad boy. Hey, don't let it. Hey,
I'm just playing Kentucky fans. Don't get mad.
You know what? Snell's a bad boy. And I give Kentucky. I will give Kentucky credit all day long for this. Kentucky in football has usually always had good to great running backs, and Snell is keeping that tradition alive.
And I'm not going to talk about that guy that during one of the broadcasts did predict Kentucky to be like 9-3 this year with like 5 road wins in the SEC.
You know what? That could happen. A lot of injuries.
We'll keep that. We'll keep that for. We'll discuss that next week on the Main Event Sports Live. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that.
Hey, but thanks for tuning in. Please hit subscribe. And without you, this could not happen. Peace.